Hello and welcome to what I believe to be the hardest GeoGuessr challenge that I've ever seen. In this one we are taking on what would seem to be one of the harder countries in the form of Botswana. However, we do have a helpful advantage here in that most of the coverage on the official map is only in the three main towns of Maun, Francistown, and Gaborone, the capital, of course. In the end, this country wasn't too tricky. I enjoyed it for the most part, as it was challenging but not over the top and frustrating. I'll get into some more matters about the ways to tell which places are which apart, but as you can tell here on this first one, I can quite quickly recognize which part I'm in and get the first 5k, so that was quite easy. I'll add some tips and screenshots as I go along here, but for this round I think that this may have been a repeat. You got to bear with me because it is currently 5th of February on recording, and I did do this 25k on the 17th of November last year, so the memory won't all be there, and I've only made some quick notes going back through the country, so it might not be that great. However, I'll try my best. Some of the best tips I can give you on this one is the first thing is the easiest tip for telling the main towns apart is because they are quite spread apart, so it's quite helpful actually in this country in particular to know how to tell the towns apart. But the main thing for Maun, which is the town to the northwest, is that you'll get quite a lot of sand, and a lot of the sand that you will get is there's sand in the entire country, obviously, because it's quite deserty, but the main way I would describe the meta for Maun is if you feel like when you walk through the sand, you'll create a footprint and it's also quite white. I'll put a screenshot of it on screen here right now so you can see what to look for. So that's something to keep an eye out for. As you can see here, I just found some street signs in the round 2 on Gaborone, so that was quite simple. Then round 3 here, if you actually have a look back at the very start of this video, you can see this is a repeat that I very briefly zoomed in on and actually managed to remember just about where it was, so that's always very helpful when you get these rounds so close together. But yeah, another one here, I think I recognize the building mainly. It doesn't seem like much, but that building I just zoomed in on right there over the top of that crate right here is a building I've seen before. It's near the airport in Gaborone, and also these, as you can see while I'm scrolling around, there's those yellow outer lines. There you go, it's the airport junction center. It was very brief, but these yellow lines on the road, you can barely see them, but it also looks a bit new, but it's very distinctive once you've played a few rounds. So I'm very quickly onto round 5 here, which is always quite nice, and yeah, not great. Not what you want to see. Haven't had it before. I feel like I have a general idea as to where I am because I've had a few rounds here before. Well, not directly here, but in this general area. It's got that northern feel just above here in the game reserve somewhere, and you're never sure with these white roads what they're going to do, what's mapped, what isn't, what fits, what buildings are going to match. But while I spend a bit of time here trying to line this road up, I'll just put in a few more tips and tricks that I found with this country. Some of the tips for Francistown are the main thing that I found was most helpful is, I don't think too many people know this, but there's actually quite a bit of sunset coverage with this one. A lot of the time when you're in the town, it's not your typical sunset where the entire skyline is orange and you can tell, but it's, once you've played a few rounds, it's quite distinctive compared to the other locations. It is a bit orangey, but you should be able to tell after a couple rounds. The other main thing is the hill. I'll put that up on screen now. That is sometimes visible, sometimes not, so you don't want to rely on it, but it can be helpful. Other thing is, something that can be very helpful in getting those nice 5Ks is to, like I had in that round 1, is that whole region there. It's empty blocks of land with those roads that are all quite mapped out and quite meticulous. They're to the southwest of Francistown. You also have some in some other places, but they're very rare. If you get it 90% of the time, you're in Francistown, and you can tell them apart from the Gaborone ones, because the ones in Francistown just feel a lot more open. And yeah, like a lot of these ones is, once you've played a couple rounds and gotten a couple locations, you should be able to tell quite quick, which is why my time here was quite quick relative to other countries, especially what you'd expect on such a difficult country. Yeah. Then Gaborone. I've made quite a sketchy drawing. I'll put it up on the screen to try and tell apart the different parts of Gaborone. Obviously, it isn't too important. Depending on what you want to do, if you want a 25k Gaborone, it can help. For narrowing down the city itself, it's not perfect. It never usually is. But as you can tell, I'll put in screenshots of what each area looks like where I've circled it off. But yeah, for the main thing is, in the red area there, you will see those cloudless skies, which obviously it's never going to be perfect. You will occasionally see a cloud, maybe in this big circle around Broadhurst. I believe that's correct pronunciation. Yeah, so again, you will see that sometimes in the blue spots and black spots, I think, but it's a good general rule. In this black area, the main thing is that a lot of the roads are paved because it's more of the inner city there. That's where you get your biggest buildings, your nicest buildings. Your side roads are paved. Your blue area feels poorer. The main roads here will be paved, but anytime you see the side roads, they'll look pretty average. They won't be great. And the other thing is that can be quite specific is that yellow area right up the top that has those yellow outer road lines that got me the 5k in round 4, which is also quite helpful. And yeah, those were the main things that I found in this country that can help. And as you can see, I've finally found the 5k here, which is quite nice. Very excited. Always want to make sure. And there you go. Very happy with how well this country ended up being, considering how hard it could have been. I felt like it was going to be quite hard. Didn't end up that way. Used to be harder when they had more locations out in the desert, but pretty happy with that one. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the narration on this one. If there's anything else you'd like to see, let me know.